If you're a guy who is actually actively approaching and you're looking for ways to show intent without just complimenting a girl, this video is for you specifically, right? So in the community, people get lost in wanting to learn how to flirt, right? Wanting to learn how to show intent, show premise as it's also said. But a lot of it comes in two camps. One is subcommunications, which is very important, right? It's the subtle tone, it's the subtle body language, the smile, the wink, the nod within what you're saying that makes it flirty, right? And this is good for situations where it's not just you and her. There might be some social pressure. There might be some people around watching her, and she won't feel odd. She won't feel strange if she engages in that type of flirty conversation because it's flirting under the radar, right? It's not very up in front, in your face. So, you know, thinking on that term, subcommunication is great for that. Very nonchalant, flying under the radar, not ringing any alarms and bells and whistles, right? But the main way that people have in their mind, have in their arsenal to show intent is to compliment girls. Now, this is very important. This is extremely important. You should learn how to compliment well and uniquely, right? So it's not just you're cute, you're beautiful, you look great. You have to be a little bit more specific than that, right? Um, your eyes are radiant and they remind me of the deep blue sea, something like that, But it has to be unique. It has to be powerful, right? A generic compliment that really doesn't do it unless you have it paired with something else, right? Unless you're doing compliment teas, which is mixed signals, push pull, but that takes time to learn. That structure takes a lot of effort to learn. Everyone should learn it if you're doing cold approach, but it takes time to learn. So, what's another way that we could show intent, that we could show premise without complimenting? Take a couple of minutes to think about that. Well, I will break the news. I will break the answer. It's cocky funny, right? Often talked about. I think the idea of cocky funny came into picture with David D'Angelo, obviously running the idea out there in the cold approach community, and it's stuck in people's minds, in people's psyches about cocky funny, right? It's one of those things, but not a lot of people use it at all because I guess the perceived risk of it is greater than people want to assume, right? So they're not they're not willing to they're not willing to take that step. They're not willing to step into that unknown, the murkiness around it. So we'll just clear it up here for anybody who wants to learn cocky funny, who wants to add cocky funny to their arsenal. All cocky funny is a jokingly arrogant statement, right? That communicates intent and premise, right? There are three reasons you should use cocky funny. The first one is it's communicating intent and premise without you kissing ass. So that's a great thing, right? Because complimenting, if you just compliment, it's very easy to over compliment. And once you've over complimented, you've made yourself look easy. The interaction doesn't have the same spice that it once did for her, right? So it kind of peters off. It peters out. It peters off. Um, you take away you putting your nuts on the table and asking her to accept you, right? Um, the second thing that cocky funny does, very similar to subcommunications, is that in high pressure social situations where she's with her friends, she's around other people who might look at her strange for engaging with you or engaging in the conversation. It's a way for you to bridge that gap, to create intent, to create premise without putting pressure on her. She has no pressure on her. All the pressure is on you. You have to live up to it. So instead of being in a crowded place where, let's say, she has a friend group there and they're right close to her, and you starting to make comments on how beautiful she is, etc., which can backfire if you guys are not alone together. Cocky Funny is a great way to introduce that intent, that premise, putting the burden on your shoulders instead of hers. So she understands the message. She gets what's going on, but the pressure is not on her. And the third reason to use Cocky Funny is because it sets frames, it implies frames that give the story, give the impression of her being the seller and you being the buyer. So instead of going back to the example of complimenting, right? Done too much, overly done. Complimenting implies that you are the buyer, that you are the seller and she is the buyer, right? You're complimenting her in order to get something, right? You're complimenting. Hopefully she likes you enough to move forward. Cocky Funny has nothing to do with that, right? It's the opposite way. It's the opposite. Um, she ends up being the seller, and you end up the one who is observing the merchandise, right? Looking through the glass pane, and seeing whether you like what's going on or not. So I give 3 examples that you can use today, you can use whenever you go out. It's always best. It's always best to study and come up with your own material. It's not good to not hack, to hijack someone else's material, right? And just take it and use it. Because you don't learn anything, it doesn't root itself in your mind, in your subconscious. It doesn't really get there, right? When you create material for yourself, you learn it. It's something you actually learn. Then you go out and you test it and you see how it works. And you're like, oh, well, this is working well. This is not. I need to tweak that. This is okay. This sounds great. But will it work, right? The experimentation tells you whether you're learning or not. Not just regurgitating what someone else is saying. So I encourage everybody to take these lines, write your own versions of them, find spaces in your interactions, in the interactions that you already have, to be able to use these and continually test them until you get lines that really work for you, until you get lines that you can use at the drop of a dime all the time, right? You know this situation will come up in most interactions, and bam, you have a line for that. This situation always comes up. You got one ready for that. So one that I like to use, I do a lot of day game walking. So I will ask the girl, so you're just walking around hoping and praying that some handsome man is going to come talk to you out of the blue. Look at that. Someone up there is listening to you. It's like it's in essence, when we start talking about what she's doing, what I'm doing, right? It's a great way to throw that in there. I love doing um, stuff like that. Which what is the frame behind that line? The frame behind that line is she's prowling around hoping and praying for me to come talk to her, right? And it's pretty funny, it's amusing, gets the point across, right? Perfect framing. Another one is if she asks you where you live and you say, well, as long as you're not trying to meet my parents already, right? I understand that you're very excited, but maybe we should take it a little bit slower, you know? Maybe you should just play it cool instead of rushing things. In terms of that, right? You're framing her question, where do you live, as her wanting to go to meet your parents and put herself in the role of being your girlfriend, you know, your potential wife, and you know, she's trying to impose herself on the situation because she sees that you're a great guy, right? So notice the frame of it, right? It's you can create frames like that from almost anything, any part of the interaction, any question she asks. uh, what do you do for work, right? What do you do for work? So you promise you're not going to show up at my job pretending to be my wife, right? Because I think that's a little bit, I think it's a little bit quick. You know, maybe we should just get to know each other here. You know, it I understand the enthusiasm, but it might be moving a little bit too fast. Something like that, right? It's very similar to the last line, but it's it's implying that you're the guy she's chasing, right? She wants more and more and more and more of you. So those three lines, you can come up with them for anything, for any situation. If she asks you what you do for fun, what you do on the weekends, you can say, "Well, I appreciate you inserting yourself into my weekend plans, but how about you know, let's just start here at this cafe first. Let's smooth it over. Maybe maybe you end up being as fun as me, but we'll see, right? Something like that, right? It's just off the top of the head, might not have been as clean and polished, but you get the idea, right? The idea is there. And the good thing about it, again, I say the frames are set in place with Cocky Funny. There are to compliment a girl, you need to compliment and tease in order for any frame to be set that you are the buyer and she's the seller, right? It would have to be compliment plus tease. With Cocky Funny, it doesn't work that way. It's already built into the line. It's baked into the line. So this is absolutely why you should learn it. 100%. So let's go back over the three reasons. One, you're showing intent without giving any power away. None. None whatsoever. Two, it's perfect, just like subcommunication, for high pressure situations where she might feel judged and she might feel afraid of being called out for being, you know, participating in a flirty conversation. And three, it sets perfect frames that imply that you are the buyer and she is the seller. Absolutely dynamite. Use these. Use these to study, break them down, like I said, doing homework, come up with your own lines, and go out there and test them. I promise you, I absolutely 100% promise you. You add this to your arsenal. If you've got a good handle on the basics already, you add this to your arsenal, your game will never be the same. And you'll never stop using it. 100%. A little caveat is that Cocky Funny is probably best early to mid interaction, right? As you get longer and longer into the interaction, you might drop a few here and there, but it's more about qualifying at that point, getting to see if she's a girl that you would like, right? If she can adopt the qualities that you would like or get rid of the qualities that you don't like, right? So later stage is a little bit more qualification, so you have to focus on that. But early to mid, Cocky Funny City. I hope you enjoyed it. This video, I hope you learned a lot. Please do the homework. Write them in the comments. I want to hear them. I want to see them. Everything, right? And I'll help you. I'll help you come up with lines. And go out there and test them. I promise you, you're going to love the reactions that you get when your material is polished. You're going to love it. Guarantee. So take care, write that homework, and get out there and practice.